When we come back, school survival on combating bullies.
ABC's World News Now will continue after this from our ABC stations.
Up in the morning and back to school.
Mobbing. It's when people, especially kids, gang up on someone using isolation, rumors, intimidation, and other emotionally abusive tactics. Today on our Up in the Morning and Back to School series, we're going to look at this form of bullying, why it happens, and how to prevent it. Joining me now is Gail Purcell Elliott, author of School Mobbing and Emotional Abuse. See it, stop it, prevent it with dignity and respect. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Thank you for inviting me.
This is not a new thing. Unfortunately, I can remember when I was growing up in the 70s, there were those kids who were always picked on. They were either overweight, they didn't wear the right clothes, they were short. I think now, though, times have changed. People weren't bringing guns to school back then, so obviously it's more dangerous than ever.
Exactly. It's also, though, it's a syndrome that's been around for a long time. If you've read Arthur Miller's The Crucible, about the Salem witch trials, you know what mobbing is all about. When somebody gets accused of something and rumors start to fly and it's very difficult to defend yourself against a lie, people start whispering, spreading rumors, isolating the person, and above all making it look like the person deserves it, which is a very classic form of emotional abuse that we've seen lots of different places. A lot of people get caught up in this stuff without realizing it, and it doesn't always have to be the kid that's overweight or the kid that happens to not wear the right kind of clothes, that type of thing. Sometimes it's simply a conflict of some other kind. Somebody's new to the school, and because they feel uncomfortable, they might talk about where they came from and their family and so forth, and the other kids will go, oh, all they care about is where they came from. And long after that original conflict is forgotten, maybe years later, over time, people just know that that's the person you stay away from.
The effects can really be devastating. You mentioned several
Yes.
physical and emotional results of this sort of mobbing.
Mobbing generally, over time, causes personality changes in the individual. It can cause physical illness as well as emotional illness. The person becomes distrustful, might engage in self-isolation. And some of the things that are really upsetting are the anxiety disorders that the kids might experience. Also, some of them, in extreme cases, suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, just like people who have been mugged or raped or gone through wars. And mobbing is almost a rape of the spirit. Not of the body, but of the spirit, because it destroys the self-esteem, shatters the person's ego.
You mentioned that you took this concept into some schools. You actually used kids as your sort of test audience, and you were surprised to find out that many of the times the kids didn't even realize that they were engaging in this sort of behavior.
Exactly. When I did some work with the schools, and I came up with some awareness questions for the kids, like, are you a mobber? Do you make fun of people behind their backs? Do you spread rumors that aren't kind? Do you get others to pick on somebody? Do you say things like, well, if you talk to her, I won't be your friend? Or get others to ignore someone or humiliate somebody and act like it's a joke? Do you do these things to exclude somebody from your group? Almost to a person. The children, when they saw these questions, would say, oh, we do this to people. Wow. And some of them realized it had been done to them. Some of them realized they had been doing it to others and made a personal decision to stop, which is how insight and awareness play a major role in combating this type of behavior, because most people don't realize that they're doing it. They kind of get caught up in it.
Right, and that's obviously a great first step to make them realize what they're doing and let them think about how they would feel to be in those shoes.
Exactly.
But what else can be done in terms of adults and teachers trying to help kids from preventing this sort of behavior?
Well, our children really follow the example we set for them. And a lot of adults engage in this kind of behavior without thinking also. Some teachers do it. Some parents do it. And they do it either toward kids, they see it in other places, or if one teacher is talking about a student to another teacher in the hallway in full earshot of the students going by, knowing or embarrasses someone, engages in public humiliation as a form of discipline, it sends a signal to the kids that this kind of behavior is acceptable. In the school mobbing book, here's a very simple example. First grade, for example. Let's say there's a first grader who gets picked on by the other kids in school. And either the teacher doesn't notice or thinks, well, that's just kids, and they have to learn how to deal with that and toughen up and tough it out and so forth. And then one day, the student who's getting targeted in desperation or frustration sticks her tongue out at the person who's teasing her. Well, the teacher immediately intercedes on that because that's unacceptable. We don't stick our tongues out at other people. So at that point, and that's a very, very simplistic example, but at that point, this is the message that's communicated. The person who is being targeted realizes that there's no recourse, and the people who are engaging in that behavior get a green light to continue it.
So bottom line is respect.
Dignity and respect for everybody is the bottom line.
All right. Well, it is a very interesting topic, and no doubt your book is very relevant right now. Unfortunately, in recent times, we've experienced incidents like Columbine, and no doubt that this will serve as a learning tool to many teachers and adults. We thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Again, that was Gail Purcell Elliott, the author of the book. You can read the first chapter of her book, School Mobbing and Emotional Abuse, on our website, wnn.abcnews.com. You are watching World News Now.